We're back. It is time to talk some college basketball. In fact, college basketball tip-off show here on WagerTalk TV. We got a limited slate of games here today, but we've got three that are extremely competitive and three games that are, well, the most bet on the board right now. So we're going to go ahead and do that for you right now. We're going to do it with two of the best here at WagerTalk. As we welcome back in the pen. Hopefully he's holding a pen this time, not giving me the finger. There it is. Ralph Michaels does have a pen. He found one. Good to see you, Ralph. And, of course, Adam Trigger, Mr. College Hoops himself, ready to roll here, gentlemen. And I am looking forward to this for sure because even though it's not the biggest slate of games, Ralph, I know your Cleveland State is in action here tonight against Oakland. Boy, Oakland was pretty competitive a little earlier in the week here. Cleveland State getting points at home, Ralph. What are we doing with this game tonight?
Joe, you look at these two teams on paper, stat-wise, you think you're looking in a mirror. Adjusted offensive efficiency, Cleveland State 314, Oakland 231. Effective field goal percentage, Cleveland State 358, folks. That's pretty damn bad. Oakland, 332. Defensive ranks, 260 for Cleveland State, 233 for Oakland. So we're obviously talking the bottom of the barrel. The big difference here, Oakland with only 3 wins, but they've played the number 13 schedule. Cleveland State, 6 wins, but they've played the number 213 schedule. Oakland's played a schedule 200 spots stronger. I think that's the big difference in this game. Against Cleveland State at home, they beat Eastern Michigan by 8. Eastern Michigan's a team that's 300 plus in the KenPom rankings. They beat New Jersey Institute of Technology. NJIT, number 355 in the KenPom ratings. And that's it. Their other win against Green Bay on the road, Green Bay is number 329. So to me, I just lean Oakland a little bit here. Oakland, both teams slow the pace. So we are going to have a low-scoring game. First team to 60 likely wins. And I do give an edge because Oakland takes care of the ball significantly better. Ohio State, number 346 in turnover percentage. Oakland, number 96. Take the care of the ball better. You've been tested. You went to Michigan State. You lost by 19. You went to Kansas. You lost by 19. You went to Illinois. You lost by 12. To me, those are actually good games for the Golden Grizzlies. Unfortunately, this is going to be a fade Cleveland State season, I believe. We'll see what happens. I don't have the report yet. Cole Franklin, one of their leading scorers, has missed the last few games. He's still listed as questionable. If he misses, a clear lean with Oakland. If he's back, a slight lean with the Golden Grizzlies.
A lot of unders for both these teams as well there, Ralph, both Oakland and Cleveland State. But it appears that Oakland getting a whole lot of love here, Trig, on the road. I think they were almost even leading at half against Michigan State before Michigan State kicked it into in the second half. But again, very competitive here. If Ralph's fading Cleveland State, my goodness, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, Ralph's right. Both of these teams are bad. This is not the Oakland team last year that made noise in the NCAA tournament. It's not the Cleveland State team last year that had Tristan Enaruna and really kind of overachieved. Drew Louder. Like there were some veteran guys on Cleveland State that are no longer there. That's kind of my opinion here is Cleveland State is worse. So I think Ralph and I kind of see this the same way. You take guys like Enaruna, Louder, Woolrich, Trey Williams from last year's team off that team. I really think they needed one of those portal guys that came from a high major to step up, and neither really has. That's Abidi and Dibba. Neither have really done much. I've always liked Taj Tavesky. He comes over from Canisius. I thought he was going to be a superstar in the MAC, and then he got hurt last year. He's good. I think he's got probably averaging like 9-10 points a game. But the one guy that's still there is Tevin Smith. But outside of that, there's just no supporting cast. And I go back to two things. Ralph made a good point. Like, Cleveland State can't score. I mean, they're three-point shooting. They're 345th in the country. It's one of the worst three-point shooting marks you'll find. And Oakland, something Tom Izzo said earlier this week, he talked about their zone being a tricky prep. He plays Oakland every year, and he said that Campy runs a zone that's hard to figure out. We kind of saw that, Michigan State, I think it was a 1-point game at halftime before they kind of finally figured it out. I don't think Cleveland State has any answer for that. And the one category that I do have a difference between these two teams is defense. I think Oakland's defense is marginally better than Cleveland State. So for that reason, I've got to lean toward Oakland here, though I don't know that I want really my money on either of these teams, but I'm more comfortable fading Cleveland State. So we'll say Oakland money line. I think it's like minus 115 would be the way I would go here.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, neither of these are gifted offenses. How in the hell this total went from 127.5 to 129, Ralph, is beyond me, given the fact that I got to believe Oakland has got to be one of the slowest tempo teams in the country. Or at least Cleveland State can't be all that much faster than them. And I just don't see how we're going to get 130 points in this game. And doesn't Campy always schedule much tougher non-conference games? So when we get to this time of year, you look at Oakland, you're like, oh God, this team is terrible. But you look at the strength of schedule of who they're playing out of conference, it makes it a little tricky. But you're just not looking forward to Cleveland State this year, who can't shoot, like Trigg said, can't shoot the 3, can't shoot the 2. But defensively, is this a rock fight, Ralph? Maybe an under in this one?
Yeah, certainly agree to the under, Joe. And let's remember this. It's the opening conference game for both teams. So, just like college football, when you play your non-conference schedule and you don't play anybody, you can get conservative in that first game. I would say this. Adam made a great point about the Grizzlies defense. If I were playing the under, I'm not going to bet this game because, again, I don't want to bet on Oakland to win on the road. But if I were, I would say my top play on the total would be under first half. I think you're going to have that legitimate teams battling out for their conference opener, which teams tend to start out slower in the game.
I agree, Ralph. I like that look too as well in the first half. We've got a couple of other games here before we get to the best bets here. Again, it's not a huge slate here tonight by any stretch, guys, as campuses are busy emptying out here. Only 18 games on the card. One of the ones that's getting a whole lot of love here, and Trigg, I'll start with you. Cal Irvine taking on Belmont in Nashville here tonight. We've seen Cal Irvine get some money, opened up as a 3-point favorite. I'm seeing 2 now. I'm also seeing the total being bet up. 154 is that current number. What are you thinking of these two teams here? Again, pretty much a pick 'em price, but maybe a little better quality basketball game than the first one.
Yeah, I was looking for a marquee game earlier, and I always kind of look to, when I do my little on the clock segment, I always look for like who's on the national networks or power conference team, and I kind of overlooked this game. This is the marquee matchup tonight. I mean, both of these teams are awesome. I think we've got 9-1 against 9-2. Irvine finally lost their first game of the season against Oregon State. I think you're going to see Belmont take some money because of the travel spot. Irvine goes from Corvallis down to Nashville. But if you follow UC Irvine, they do this every year. They schedule like this on a regular basis. They always step out and play difficult teams on the road in non-conference. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I do think Andre Henry probably being out is notable here. He missed he went out of the Bakersfield game hurt, and then he missed the Oregon State game, which of course was Irvine's first loss. That being said, like I still think, I mean, these are two really, really good teams. My number is right on the money. I make it 2. I think it's 2. Irvine is 2. The total comes right out to what my number would be. So I don't have a great way to bet this game. Two teams, I think it's gonna be a really, really competitive game. I wish I had something more to add. I guess like if one of these teams takes money, like I'll take a stand here for the sake of the show. If Belmont keeps taking money and suddenly Irvine is a pick, like come tip-off. I think I would have to take Irvine. I have them rated even without Henry because they're very deep. I think I have Irvine just a little bit above or just slightly ahead of Belmont. And if they took money to the point where you could get Irvine pick, I think it'd be worth sort of playing back against the market. But I'm not going to touch this one.
Ralph, I mean, looking at these two teams, it feels like Belmont's going to be the best competition that UC Irvine has played. I mean, they got the kid that transferred in from Memphis, who's a scoring machine. What is it, Jonathan Pierre? They've done a pretty good job here so far at 8-2 on the season. Belmont, it's in Nashville, I believe. So what am I missing here? Why are they getting points?
Well, you look at Irvine, and Irvine is such a unique team. They played the number 127 schedule. Their defense is in the top 10. Nothing weird about that. But they've actually upped their tempo this year. Their tempo is number 76 overall with that great defense. So even though they play great defense, the scoring has been higher this season for the Anteaters. But to me, I lean UC Irvine. They went to Northern Iowa. They beat them by 20. Northern Iowa's still a top 100 team and actually like 30 spots better in KenPom ratings than this Belmont team. So they went to Northern Iowa. They win by 20. They go to Weber State. Again, Weber State's a top 200 team, and then they go to Oregon State and they lose by 12. Remember, Oregon State is undefeated against the spread when they played Irvine. But I look at Belmont and yes, they're a quality team, and yes, they've been here and done that. And they're even a faster-paced team. They're number 27 in tempo. But it comes down to this. Their schedule has not been good. It's number 281. And when you look at the slate of defenses Belmont has played, it is number 281. They have not played a defense at all that has worried them. So their turnover numbers are good. 15.4 turnovers a game. That's number 58. UC Irvine really doesn't press that much, so you're not going to worry about that. But Irvine on the road as well is a team that I can back. They don't shoot many threes. In fact, they're number 320 in percentage of points plus 3. But, they're not the Princeton offense, but very few teams pass the ball as well as UC Irvine. They are number 13 in assists to field goals per game. 64% of all their field goals come on an assist. So they pass the ball well. They got a lot of inside shots. They do not shoot a lot of threes, and they play great defense. That is the formula on who you back on a road game in a tough venue. I do like Irvine.
Trey, I don't have it in front of me, but maybe you can tell me quick. If I'm not mistaken, Belmont, is it Drake that they've got a conference game on deck, which I find fascinating. UC Irvine, I think they have Duquesne next. A very strange travel spot for UC Irvine here for like this 2-game mini Christmas trip they're going to make or something. But is it Drake they have next?
Yeah, it is, but it's not till it's 10 days from now. So probably no look ahead spot. That's 10 days away. You're probably, you're definitely catching Belmont before their little Christmas break, right? Like they're probably going to take some time off over the next 10 days. Whereas Irvine's still kind of in it, right? Like they're going to go from here up to Pittsburgh to play Duquesne. Irvine, there's some really. The other thing I wanted to, I guess, kind of throw out there is like Ralph's right. Their defense is very good. They can probably deny Belmont some of the transition they like to try to score in. Belmont will get buckets in transition. Irvine, we know, can deny that. They held Kent State to 39 points. That's an 8-2 Kent State team. That's another. You want to talk about travel? That was up in Canada. So Irvine's not only been to all those places. They're going to Pittsburgh this weekend. They're down in Nashville. They were up in Canada for 3 games playing Towson, Kent State, and Kennesaw State, and they wiped the floor with all 3 of those teams, including holding Kent State to 39 points in the game. And that's an 8-2 Kent State team. So, yeah, I've just got Irvine slightly better than Belmont, and I think that's the way I would play it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the chat tends to agree as well, as they are leaning Anteaters in this one. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Become part of that Wager Talk TV family. We'll talk about one other game of interest on the card here tonight, and just a light 18 game slate that certainly has a lot of people interested. It is one of the more bet games on the card, and it's going to be Lipscomb taking on Middle Tennessee, the Blue Raiders here. This feels like, I mean, what are they, Ralph, about 20 minutes or 25 minutes apart? Or maybe, Trig, you know this. These two schools are not that far from one another, I don't believe. So is it considered a rivalry game, Ralph, in this one here? Because it certainly feels like a pick'em the way the market is betting it.
Yeah, Murfreesboro and, Nashville, Lipscomb in Nashville. So, you look at the teams. Middle Tennessee 8-3. Ken Palm has them about 137. Lipscomb 7-4. Ken Palm has them about 98. Strength of schedules basically even, 149 and 154. So if you look at that, and Middle Tennessee has an extra win, you think that's an edge. But Middle Tennessee, 2 of their wins are against non-D1s. And, the best opponent they played was Bradley, and they played Bradley in a neutral setting, in a tournament setting, and they lost by 11. You look at Lipscomb. Lipscomb's only faced, they faced 2 top 100 teams. Arkansas, they lost by 16. Again, not a bad loss. And Kentucky, they played on the road, and they lost by 29. I went back and forth in this, Joe. Originally, I said, I like Lipscomb at home, and, these coaches, Acuff and McDevitt, they are great friends. They talk about the season. They don't talk this week. So I think it's going to be a tight game. The coaches, this is very prideful for them. Lipscomb is known for their offense, 76.3 points per game. And while Middle's numbers aren't great, they've pressed the tempo a little bit. And when they've had the opportunity to extend leads, they've done so. They're averaging 82 points per game. So does that get me to the over? Well, not really, because Middle Tennessee, number 12 in three-point defense, and Lipscomb is a team that likes shooting a lot of threes. They're top 90 as far as percentage of points come from 3. So to me, Lipscomb's preferred shot is the 3. Middle Tennessee, a top 15 team in three-point defense, edge to Middle. But again, when you look at the strength of schedule, that they've played great offenses. Middle's played the number 69 toughest slate of offenses. They played the number 300 set of defenses. That's why they're scoring so much. When you play when the average opponent is top 70 in offense and 300 on defense, over is the only way to go. I think that gets straightened out here a little bit. Lipscomb pretty even. Efficiency, 132 on offense, 88 on defense. I'm going to go contrary here. And I am going to lean with under the total. Again, Middle's Tennessee State, again, a very fake offense with the opponents they've played. I'm looking real quick. Lipscomb is number 88 on defense as far as ChemCom goes. Bradley was 126. They scored 69 against Bradley, and they lost by 11. Murray State was 125. They only scored 67 and 88. So a little misleading. I think we actually have value at the under here in this in-state battle between these two mid-tier teams.
What are you thinking, Trig? Not that far apart from one another. A bit of a rivalry game here. Pick'em price. Who are you leaning towards in this one?
I mean, I'm gonna go the other way on the total, but I'm not a huge total handicapper, so I'll just kind of give my thoughts here. And actually, I prefer the second half over if it sets up correctly. So I pulled up some of Middle Tennessee's second half totals. 91 in the Cal Baptist game, 93 in the Belmont game, 79 in UAB, 99 in South Florida, 91 in Ohio, 81 in Murray State. So for whatever reason, there's a boatload of points in the second half of some of these Middle Tennessee games. I think Ralph maybe kind of shed some light on that. I think the reason that I kind of look toward the over a little bit is I think there's going to be some defensive regression coming from Lipscomb. Right now, my numbers have them as a top 100 defense based on like what they've done to this point this year. I don't know that I agree with that. Just based on what they did last year, there was times where, they could really score the ball, but defensively they just weren't there. And I wonder if that starts to happen as we get into conference play a little bit. But again, this isn't like the strongest opinion. It's just, I do think there's probably points. That being said, I don't know that the number. 149 is where this is now. That seems high. Like that's a pretty big number that you have to get over. So I think for just the sake of giving out a pick here, I will go second half over and just see if the trend continues. Middle Tennessee State has had a ton of points in the second half of their games. They just played on Monday against Cal Baptist. So maybe some tired legs, quick turnaround. That was a very competitive game on Monday. And now they're turning around and playing a team that will go fast, that is pretty proficient offensively in Lipscomb just 3 days later. So I'll say second half over for my pick for this game.
Oh, all right. Second half over in this one with Lipscomb and Middle Tennessee State. Again, just 18 games on the board. I'm sure these guys have a game that they like just a little bit more than the rest. I see a couple of questions in the chat room. We'll see if a best bet centers around any one of these games. I know Buffalo is on the card, Trig, so you had to know somebody was going to ask about that. We also, I believe, was at Norfolk State. We saw there -4.5 against Alabama State. We'll see if the guys have any thoughts on that one. But Ralph, kick it off here. Tell us, just 18 games on the card. What is one of the games you might like a little bit better than the rest here?
Well, Joe, again, I remember 2 weeks ago when you scolded me that I didn't use a team in the 300s as far as the rankings go. So, I'm going to go all the way down to number 343 and go with Lyndenwood. And why the heck would I bet on a Lyndenwood Lions team? By the way, they're in St. Charles, Missouri, if you're not familiar, in the Ohio Valley Conference. Again, this comes down to the toughest schedule. And, Lyndenwood may be one of the worst teams in college basketball. And their wins are only against Stonehill, a 300 team, and IU Indiana, a 351 team. That's it. Only 2 wins against D1. But they are at home. Many of these teams that are Ohio Valley and SWAC, have to play every game on the road to try to get that money early in the season. Well, they played a road game at Mississippi on December 7th. Then they hosted Harris Stowe, a non-Division I team, and then they hosted IU Indiana, a D1 team. So they're home for a third straight game, their third game in 9 days. That gets you some repetition. And when I look, when I look at Tennessee Tech has played the number 248 schedule. They've played 4 straight games away. They played on the road September 7th. They played Tuesday at Western Illinois, and now coming back and playing 2 days later. They play a little bit up-tempo, but their numbers to me are very swayed. They've played the number 269 set of defenses. I like the situation here. Tennessee Tech only 3-7 straight up and against the spread against, again, the number 248 schedule. But away from home, they're 2-6 ATS, and they're 0-5 ATS if you exclude games as a dog of 20 or more. So what Tennessee Tech has done, people look past them. They do play hard in the second half when they're outmatched, and they cover those huge spreads. But again, if you take away being a dog of 20 or more, so you're a single-digit dog or a dog up to +19, they're 0-5 against ATS. That's enough for me to fade the Golden Eagles.
There you go, fading them tonight in this one. Lyndenwood, something you rarely hear on this show. Lyndenwood for the win there, Ralph Michaels. Trig, how about you, my man? Any one of these games you like a little more than the rest?
The only one I like more than the rest is up on my page. It's my 4% play for tonight. But I I think I like Oakland on the money line the best of any of the rest of the games. But just for argument's sake and to get another opinion out on the show, I will talk about Buffalo and Georgia, because that is one of the national TV games tonight, SEC Network. So Ralph and I talked about Buffalo a while back. I believe we did a show when Buffalo played Bryant. I hijacked the show to talk about how much I like this Buffalo team, rambled on for 20 minutes about it, and they lost by 100. And I'm pretty sure I had a best bet in that game. Since then, Buffalo is 4-1 against the spread. And the one game they didn't cover, I think they were a 2-point favorite and they won by 1. So that's since they got blasted by Bryant. They covered a big number against Vermont. They won and covered against Morgan State. They beat NC-A&T 82-81. I believe the spread in that game was 2. So like probably 90 times out of 100, they cover, they win. They won the game. They probably covered 2. The next game was Penn State, where they stayed inside a huge number, like today's, which I'll get to in a second. And then last time out, they were pretty competitive with St. Bonaventure. Lost by 10. They were a 17-point underdog. The point is, this is kind of what I was saying about Buffalo. Their consensus in the MAC, they're like the worst team. I think I saw them 12th of 12 MAC teams in just about every MAC preview coming into this year. The reason for that is very straightforward. They have 9 freshmen and 4 sophomores and a couple of transfers. They are very, very young. No one knows who any of these guys are. Guys like Isaiah Adams, pretty much anyone notable transferred out of the program. But I think some of that was good. I think getting, like Isaiah Adams is a great player. I think he went to Toledo, but they weren't really conducive to what Halkovich was trying to do in a rebuild. I think there was a little bit of locker room cancer going on last year. It was Halkovich's first year. He still had some of the holdovers from the previous regime. And they started to play better toward the end of the season when some of the younger guys were getting most of the minutes. And so now in his second year, it's only his second year, and there's not one player left from the Jim Whitesell era. They're all guys that Halkovich has brought in. Like I said, 9 freshmen. Ralph Michaels' long-lost son, Ben Michaels, is awesome. He might be one of the best freshmen in that league. The kid from Canada, I think his name's Tyson Dunn. He's their one upperclassman. He's a D2 transfer from Canada. Really good player. And then Noah Batchelor is like the other upperclassman. He was at Maryland and just wasn't getting much playing time. He's actually been pretty good for Buffalo. So I still think the market has not even close to caught up based on some of these numbers. Like, listen, Georgia's a team I really like. I think Georgia is going to be much better than anyone thought they would be in SEC play. And actually, I think the secret's out because they've had some nice results so far in the non-conference. Like, just Georgia team is pretty good. But they're not the type of team that I think should be laying 27, 28 points. So my best bet for the show will be Buffalo plus 27. Am I going to put that on my client card and bet that? No. It's a tough, like those 27, 28, 29-point underdogs, 30-point dogs are tricky. There's another one on this card. Grand Canyon's like minus 31. I'd probably lean toward the dog there as well. But Buffalo plus 27 will be my best bet for the show.
All right, Buffalo, there you go for the show here tonight. You guys ask, he shall answer here. Also, Merrimack taking on St. Mary's here tonight. I find this number interesting as well. I believe St. Mary's 20.5-point favorite, and they have won exactly one game by 20 or more points this year. And that was during, I believe, Feast Week against USC, 71-36. And that was because, well, USC looked like they had pretty much quit. Merrimack in this one should, guys, call me crazy here. I am not trusting St. Mary's to win by 20 against anybody this year. So I'll take a flyer on Merrimack, who is always used to being a ridiculous dog here, but they don't often get blown out at times. So I'll go with that. I will take your 20.5 points, St. Mary's. That game coming up 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Don't forget, guys, Ralph Michaels
hey,
as
Joe.
well It's Adam Trigg. Good, Trigg.
We gotta go back to there was the viewer asked about Norfolk State. We never talked about it, so we got to go back to that game quick. But that's not a home game. That's up at Mohegan Sun Arena. It's part of an MTE.
Yep.
So here's the deal with that game. If Alabama State's much improved, but if Matlock or Madlock, I believe his name is, does not play, I would strongly consider Norfolk State, even with this game being a 5 p.m. game on a neutral floor. I don't know how, like, Alabama State just blasted Tennessee Martin, put up 103 points in their most recent game without him. I think he's too important to that team to, like, continue to win by margin or cover, like, against better teams without him. Norfolk State's a well-coached team. Robert Jones does a great job there. He's been doing a great job there for years. And there's a lot of guys that are veteran guys that have been in that program for a couple of years. So, like, Norfolk State's a team that I think profiles as a bet on for the most part. So I lean Norfolk State there. And if Madlock was out, -4.5 makes a lot of sense.
I don't think we have any confirmation. It doesn't look like he's in, judging by the you think this line would move significantly, Trigg, if he's listed as in?
I don't, because I think it'll go somewhat unnoticed. Like, I don't know that anyone's really worried about this game, but I just think, like, if Alabama State doesn't have him, I'd be kind of surprised if they can keep it within a couple of possessions. I still have Norfolk State being the superior of these two teams. Like, even if both are full strength.
You want to talk about disparity in these games? Norfolk State is number 343 in the number of 3-point shots taken.
Oh.
And Alabama State is number 15. So you're going to have one team throwing up threes, the other team not throwing threes. And that's something to keep on during a live betting situation. If a 3-point shooting team gets hot early, oftentimes that continues on. Now, the neutral setting, it changes things a little bit, but clear dynamics in the way these two teams play.
Yeah, I believe you'll have that same situation with Southern Indiana, who is actually really good at shooting threes, and Tennessee State is also very good at fouling people who take the threes. So that'll be interesting as well. That game at 8:30 Eastern time tonight. So 18 games on the board. Got some opportunities there, guys. Hope the information was useful to you. Should be. Pretty good slate for the rest of the week here, though, as we get ready for holiday week next week. But still a lot of college basketball to come here as we got ready for college football, not college basketball. Don't forget, both these guys locked, loaded, ready to roll up at WagerTalk.com. Take advantage of the deals and the specials we got. Trigg told you he's got a 4% best bet in one of these 18 games on the slate tonight he likes. Head over to his page at WagerTalk.com, pick that up, or just go ahead, buy January, get the rest of December for free. It's a really good deal right now, guys, for $2.99. That'll include all access, every play, every sport. Both of these guys got a lot of plays coming up, not just in college hoops, but, of course, college football, the playoffs, national championship, you name it. They have got you covered. That's a really good deal to take advantage of. All right, that'll do it for the college basketball tip-off show. NBA on the way, guys. Loaded slate in the association tonight. We'll talk to Rob Vino. We'll talk to Andy Lang, get all the props and everything else you need to know. That's coming up live stream here in about 15 minutes. We'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of the college basketball tip-off show. Good luck, guys. We'll see you soon.